I gotta get me a bag, steady type of cash, I'm doing that same shit. No, I don't fuck with no lame bitch, can't even fuck on the same shit. I heard your shit in the swag, that shit is so sad, put in work at that basement. I charge you double that payment.
Hey everybody, it is your boy Emrys here, back at it again with another video. Alright, as y'all can see, today's What If is going to be a part 1 for What If Deku was Moon Knight. The series just ended and I really did enjoy it, so I wanted to make a series on Moon Knight, since he is probably one of my favorite Marvel characters by far. And his character would be extremely complicated and actually be quite fun to do in a what if scenario. I'm probably going to do another few of these where using different anime characters, but like, yeah. If y'all do enjoy this video, leave a like, subscribe to the channel if y'all are new, like, check out the link in the description. Y'all see the guy who made the thumbnail for me, and y'all can check out all of that. Also, if y'all didn't check my community tab, I'm going to have like a new upload schedule starting next week. I haven't chosen exactly what day since I'm waiting for y'all to actually get a few more votes in there, but if y'all want to go check that out, just go check that out. You can just go check my actual community tab to do that. Also join my YouTube membership. But alright, let's get into the video. So the way that we're actually gonna have this series set up is we're gonna start it around when Deku's 4. In this timeline, he won't be the only child, he will have a younger brother. And Ingo and Hisashi will both still be in Deku's life at this point. Hisashi's not going to leave for any dumb reasons and just go dip out the country like he did in the canon. But Deku and his brother, like before anyone would be getting their quirks, his brother would actually die by accident while him and Deku are just out playing around one day near some caves. Deku would manage to survive. He would almost get caught, but he would manage to survive, but obviously his brother would die. This would be around the same time that everyone would start getting their quirks, and so with all of that, when Bakugo got his quirk, he would also have heard that Deku's brother had just died, someone that he was obviously quite close with since they had all been friends since they were kids, like since they were born. So Bakugo was kind of a little nicer to Deku just because his brother had just died. Like, even when he heard that Deku didn't get a quirk, he kind of still felt bad for him, because like his brother just died and he just figured out that he didn't have a quirk. He's not gonna just automatically be mean to him because like he's just literally lost two things automatically at once. And like with all of that, Inko would have been extremely pissed off at Deku. Like, she would have been mad beyond any point in anything, just because she blamed him for the death of his brother. I'm not gonna even bother giving Deku his brother name. I'm just gonna say, you know what? We'll just call him Azumi. Yeah, why not? But like, yeah, Azumi would have died, and Inko was completely mad at Deku, so she would actually start really abusing him to an extent. And if that's a trigger warning, I'm sorry to any of y'all that is, but she would start abusing him. She would start hitting him and just blaming him for the fact that her youngest is not alive anymore. With all of that, the more that she would do it, like, Deku would eventually need to start finding a way to take out all the stress, take out all of the pain that he's feeling, and he's trying to avoid dealing with all of that. So since him being so young, he would actually start to gain or develop a different personality, a different persona, one that can be the one to take the pain for him and protect him. This would be creating the personality of Stephen Grant. Yes, I'm going to keep him the same name just because I don't feel like really changing too much, besides the fact that in this timeline, Deku's taking the place of Mark. But like, yeah, so Steven's taking the being there to help Deku out, being there to really just protect him, make sure that he's not really feeling any of that big emotional damage that Deku would be feeling at all times because all that abuse. So he's just really just trying to do with all of that. And anytime that Deku comes to school, Bakugo would always notice that he's coming to school extremely bruised. He's coming to school extremely injured, and Bakugo's always just wondering what's going on. And Deku wouldn't say anything because he doesn't want to get his mom in trouble, but Bakugo would notice this, and he would honestly be even more nicer to Deku because like he's just wondering what's going on, that he's coming to school this badly bruised, and his teachers are wondering this too. They can't say anything because they don't have any proof, and Deku's not saying anything, so they don't really have any authority to just think that something's going on inside the household, which this is what they're all assuming, but they can't prove it, so they can't do anything. But yeah, so a few years go by. Deku's around 7 at this point, and he's really just trying to figure out exactly what to do in the situation, because he knows Steven's alive, like, because he's the one who created him, so he knows who Steven is, and like, but they don't really interact with each other really. They both think that they're like just two different personalities. They're just two. Steven doesn't know that Deku is. He just thinks that he's the original personality, like they did in the show. So like with all of that, Deku's still really just trying to figure out what to deal with how to deal with all of this that's going on at home. He's quirkless. He has nothing, and he's just completely being able to do nothing with his own life, because Inko's always like bringing him so much injury, so much harm. And with that, like, he's really just trying to figure out, and he's really just starting to think of a plan that he has to manage to find a way out of this place one day. He doesn't know how, doesn't know when, but he just knows that he has to figure out a way out. And the thing is, with all of that, he would actually start. He's always been a smart kid, so he's just starting to delve into more lore, more stories about different religions, because like, yeah, it's something, it might not be something that everyone's interested in, but he's just really delving into all of this, just thinking about all of this. And he's also trying to learn his own. Well, Steve is the one going into the lore, and he's the one going into like the fight. He's trying to learn different fighting styles, martial arts, so he can actually start to protect himself. Steve is going into lore because that's something he's just interested in, so he's really just going into like Egyptian lore, any kind of godly lore, and he's figuring out a lot about that, just like they did in the show, which that show is awesome. So if you didn't watch it, go check that out. But yeah, they're really just getting, they might not know each other exist. Well, Steven might not, but they're both doing their own thing. But when Deku's would turn 10, he would actually end up leaving. He would end up leaving the Inko and just running away completely. He would do this because like it's been over like what is that, 6 years of him dealing with all of the things that Inko's been doing to him, and he can't escape. He can't do anything, and all that he can do is just be there. And he's getting older now, and he knows that eventually he might be old enough to be able to stop Inko from doing all of this and manage to maybe fight his way back. But his dad's not doing anything, and he can't do anything. But he knows he can't wait forever he can't wait that many more years, especially since he's quirkless, which made Inko so much more mad, because Izumi was actually manifesting a quirk at such an early age. Like, he was actually manifesting a quirk like his fathers and mothers, but Deku wasn't manifesting anything, and Inko got more mad about that, along with the fact that Izumi was dead. So Deku didn't know what to do. He was just completely sad about all the things that he was having to deal with. He didn't know what to do without all that. So he ran away. He would completely leave his home and start just traveling around. He's such a young kid, but he's just really just technically hitchhiking, going off trains, going off that way. And like, you would eventually find some places where he's able to learn some actual like martial arts for like pretty cheap. Like, he would sometimes stay around with people that actually didn't know martial arts, and he would stay with them for a little while, learn some martial arts, and then move on his way. But eventually he would actually find or meet up with a specific guy that he would just have ran into randomly one day. This guy's name being Bushman. He would have met this guy. They would have hit it off. They would have acted like, became pretty good friends. Bushman was a few years older than Deku, and Bushman would have actually said that he was a mercenary. Deku would have known what that is, and he would just be like, okay. And like, Bushman would just like, if you want to really learn how to fight and protect yourself, that could be a pretty good way. You could fight, make some cash, and also be able to protect a few people, and also just fight bad guys, whatever. It might not be the hero path that Bushman has heard Deku wanted to go towards, but it is a way to at least gain some kind of money, gain some kind of profit. And Deku's like, hey, it might not be the path that I wanted to go to originally, but I can still choose the hero path later on. But yeah, at this point, like, Deku's around like 11 at this point. It's been about a year. That's when he met Bushman, and for the next like three years, until he's around 13, him and Bushman would be the best of friends. They would be working together on mercenary jobs, and Deku would actually have been getting good at almost every kind of weapon, and was very amazing at almost any kind of martial arts that you could think of. Because him and Bushman would be practicing every day, and he would actually know how to use people's abilities against him, because he's fought people with a plethora of different quirks, and he's been able to beat them all because since he doesn't have one, he's learned to use his own body as a technical, not really a shield, but like as his own personal weapon. He understands fighting styles, and he understands how to move perfectly. So he's always pretty good at that, and he doesn't like killing, but like if he has to, he's not opposed to it. Steven like will obviously still show up sporadically, and he was always wondering exactly how he even got far away from his family. And he thinks that he's calling his mom every day, but he always notices that he's always blacking out at least. So, and he never knows exactly where he is, but he's showing up less and less because, to be fair, like he's not being abused anymore. So Mark doesn't, well, as keeps him. I said Mark, but like y'all know what I mean. Deku just really doesn't need him as much. He's not completely getting as hurt as he usually was, but they've actually managed to meet up to this point, because they see once after a while, Steven was really starting to get confused on how he was just moving from place to place and blacking out so much. So one of the days, while Steven was just like looking at a mirror, just washing his face, Deku would have introduced himself to just say hello. Steven would have obviously been confused and just like wondering exactly what's going on, and Deku would have just explained exactly what the situation is, and Steven would have been like, Deku would not have said anything about like their mom and anything, because like Steven still views her as like an amazing person, because like he's the one that had to deal with all of the pain, all of the abuse, but he kind of just blocked that all out. He kind of just like put that all out of his memory. But yeah, so he's really just like, okay, like, how did we even get away from our parents? Deku's just like, they died. He's just lying to Steven just so he doesn't have to explain the real truth. But he'll eventually do it. But yeah, they started to at least understand and talk to each other during the few years that they've been talking. And once around when Deku would be when he's turning 14, an incident would happen. Him and Bushman would have been practicing a few fighting styles, and then they would have been alerted that they got a mission to go to Egypt. It's not the first time Deku's been to Egypt, but he's like, Egypt's always a pretty nice place to go around, but what's the mission? Bushman would just say that we just have to go. There is some archaeologist that's doing some work, and we just have to figure out exactly what he's found, and take it. We don't really need it. There shouldn't be any really complications, but everything should be fine. As Deku would just be like, yeah, sounds easy enough. Let's go. And they would head off to Egypt. They would find this archaeologist, and they would figure out all the things that he's been doing, and just figure out find all of that. But the thing is, as soon as Bushman saw exactly what they had found, he would have killed the archaeologist, and Deku would have just been like, yo, bro, what the fuck? Like, what are you doing? You said that there wouldn't really need to be any killing for this. And he just like, leave no survivors. I'm like, and Deku would be like, what's the point? They're not harming us. They're not doing anything that's really of any major importance that could actually be considered a threat. And he, like, Bushman's just like, did you not hear me? Leave no survivors. And Deku's like, let's just go. As Bushman's just like, I'm not gonna repeat myself again. And Deku's just like, bro, what's going on? We've been doing this for 4 years now. we've been doing this for like 3 years now. We've never had this conflict. Let's just go. And Bushman's like, kill these people or I kill you. As Deku's just like, I'm not killing anyone. As Bushman would start killing everyone else, all of the other archaeologists around there, and he would say, I'm sorry, kid, but I guess this is where our roads end. As he would just start to shoot Deku, and Bushman would leave, and Deku would just start trying to crawl away, just finding somewhere that he could actually find some place to be, find some peace. And eventually he would just walk into this kind of tomb-ish crypt, and he would just be laying there, about to die, just contemplating all the things that had been going on. And this is where we would enter Khonshu. Deku would just start hearing this voice, hearing all this noise behind him, and he's just like, what the fuck is that? And Khonshu was just like, Hazuka Midoriya, you are dying. I could save you, but you would have to agree to become my avatar. Help me in taking care of all of the people that could threaten the night. Be my vengeance. And he's just like, I don't know I don't know what you're talking about. And he's like, Khonshu would show himself, and he's just like, do you agree to be my vengeance, my avatar? A way for you to live, be stronger, be as powerful as all of the people that you have barely been able to beat, and most of the time have never been able to beat because they had abilities that you didn't have. They had quirks. I can give you power, I can give you strength. All I need you to do is become my Moon Knight, my Vigilante, my hero. And Deku was like, I want to live. So he would just say yes. As he would completely rise up in the Moon Knight attire. And he would completely, at that point, it would be around a year and a half until the start of UA. Until, like, the actual first class of UA. And Deku would travel back to Japan. It would be his first time back in a good long while, but now that he has the Moon Knight outfit, he can get back and really just not really worry about Inko and all of them seeing each other. And at this point, Inko and Hisashi have moved. They're like, they moved to America, so they're nowhere to be found. But Deku at one point did get a call that, like, once Deku would have gone back, he would have gotten a call from Hisashi, since Hisashi did have Deku's number. Deku might have moved away, but Deku just kept in contact with Hisashi just in case something bad or really happened to him or his family. Because, like, yeah, he hated his mother for what she had done, but they're still family. And he would have gotten this call, and it would have been Hisashi asking Deku to come home just to come home, since, like, he is still Jewish, and he wanted him to come home since his mother had just died. And this is, like, before that they had moved to America, because they were planning on moving, but Inko died right before then. As they had moved apartments, but Deku would have gone to their new home, had seen his dad right outside the door. Like, he would have been right outside the door, seen his dad, but didn't have the courage to come in. He would have left, and this is where Steven would have really started to take over, because, like, all the pain would have just started rushing back to him, rushing back through his mind, rushing back through his memories, and he just couldn't stand it anymore. And he has a lot of money. Like, Mark has a good bit of money, but he always puts in Steven's name. Well, I keep saying Mark, but you guys know what I mean. This is Moon Knight we're talking about. But, like, yeah, Deku has a lot of money, but he puts in Steven's name because, like, he doesn't need people knowing that he's the one doing all of this. He doesn't need them doing it. So Steven's a millionaire. And Steven knows this, since, like, he's obviously met Deku before. So there's nothing too much for him to worry about. So Steven would get a place to live, and he would have just started dealing with all of that himself. And Mark would go, I'm keep up. But yeah, Deku would have started coming out less and less because like Steven would have really started to take over for a good little while. But he knew that but anytime the Consul needed him to do anything, he would have Deku would have came out. He would have done the work. He was doing extremely well as a vigilante. He would have been taking out a good lot of crime. He would have been, but the heroes would have started catching on to him. They would have noticed that someone is out there. They've never actually been able to see him because he's extremely fast and he's extremely just slick to get around from. So barely any heroes actually know who he is. They know that he exists, and they know that he calls himself Moon Knight, and they know that he's lethal. He kills, but they don't know exactly who he is. They don't know what he's doing. They don't know why he's doing it. All they know is that there's a vigilante out there called Moon Knight, and only a few people have actually ever been able to get a clue of him that have actually managed to survive, and those have been the victims of any of the criminals that he was trying to deal with. But with all that said, this is going to be when it off. If y'all liked this part, leave a like, subscribe to the channel if y'all are new, and just tell me what y'all thought about this video, because obviously I hope that y'all enjoyed it. I'll put a post on my community tab in the next few days, and I'll have y'all choose which what if y'all want me to focus on specifically, since I saw one in my comment that said y'all want me, since for my new upload schedule y'all want me to do 2 posts a week but make them the same series. So I'm just gonna have y'all choose the series that I focus on until I finish it, and then just do it like that. But thank y'all for watching the video.